Glad you brought up Richard Sherman because our next topic is the Super Bowl wrap-up, and really it wasn't much of a game. I think because Darius wasn't here, but I know you went with the Seahawks. All three of us went with the Broncos. You two had blowouts for Denver. I remember that.
He had more of a blowout than I did. I was expecting double-digit win, but yeah.
But I think before we do anything, because I also had Denver. I had 28-20 Denver. We will let our man, the only one who's happy in the room, talk about his Seattle Seahawks team. And they had their parade just like an hour or two ago.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it wasn't much of a game, but it was great at the same time. I was rooting for Seattle. I actually picked them at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl, so I was sticking with that pick. I like their defense. And then once the whole Richard Sherman thing went down, that just made me support them a whole lot more. And I know probably nobody in this room agrees with me. Matt, I know you don't agree with me.
Yeah, I know you saw that.
Yeah. I don't know if y'all agree with me about the whole Richard Sherman thing. But once that happened, I was definitely riding for him. I don't have any necessarily ill will towards Denver. I don't dislike Peyton Manning. He actually has pretty funny commercials for the most part, and that surprises me because his personality on the field, you don't seem to think he has that personality. As far as the game goes, it seems like Denver they just weren't like in it. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't understand like this is the big game. I could understand the first play. Okay, you have a little miscommunication, with the whole safety, but then after that, the receivers were scared to run it down the, in the middle of the field, which, I understand because Cam Chancellor was popping all of them. But, the running game really couldn't be established. And then you heard what Richard Sherman said, saying that Peyton, his throws are predictable. They don't, the route running is very predictable for them. And if they would have, did some double moves or something, Seattle would have got exposed, which they didn't. So, besides that, it was a great moment. I was upset that Richard Sherman got hurt at the end of the game. He got carted off. I thought it was something more serious than what it was. Because the way they play is serious. They knocked their own teammates out before they hitting, Denver. They were hurting their own guys. But besides that, and the commercials, I just want to say this real quick. The commercials were weak.
Yep.
I didn't catch all of them because, I was with a lot of people and we were talking. You know how that goes. You missed a lot of them. But the commercials I saw, I really wasn't entertained this year. I was kind of upset. So I'm gonna let y'all go, and then I'll jump in every now and then. You know how it usually is.
The whole Richard Sherman thing, and I saw you post, and I posted something, and I think Richard Sherman took away from the NFC Championship game, because you didn't see him do much until that last play, and then it was all Richard Sherman talk for the whole 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, and the lack of talking for Marshawn Lynch. And it took away from a great game and a great team effort. And I think you saw that in the Super Bowl. You saw a team effort. You saw non-Richard Sherman players doing it again, and we got a little bit of understanding of what was going on. That these players were the same way. Smith, who won, I think it was Smith who won the MVP, was the one who made the interception after the tip. So you saw that, and people were surprised that he intercepted and took it back, and people didn't realize what happened in the NFC Championship game. And Sherman did that with the game. I was not expecting. I was hoping a better blowout on the other side. We talked about. So you said a stagnant defense for Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Stagnant defense worked.
Yeah.
They were stubborn. They just kept to their ways, and it was okay. And it was Payton's fault. And they were talking afterwards of embarrassing, and he said that he doesn't use the word embarrassing. A couple other players said it was embarrassing. I was not expecting this. I was sitting down watching it, just shaking my head, not because of what happened. It was what I didn't see. It was watched by the most people. I think the best sporting event ever watched in
I think
the US.
It was 111 million.
And they saw one of the worst games probably in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for a great catch by Thomas for Denver, it would have been a shutout.
I almost feel kind of bad because I'm a huge soccer fan. I follow a lot of international soccer players. Like, I know Beckham went to the game. He'd never even been to an American football game before. This was the first game he had ever seen, let alone gone to. Gareth Bale, the big Real Madrid signing, he tweeted something about him watching the Super Bowl. Same with Neymar, who doesn't even speak English. He speaks only Portuguese. and a couple other guys, they all sat down, a lot of them in their first American football game because of how hyped it up it is. And I feel bad. This is kind of bad for our sport. This is our national sport. All these Europeans and stuff are like, what is this about? And this is their first game they see, the most watched television event. I think the only thing that's watched more in the world is the Champions League final, which is for the champion of European soccer, or as they say, European football. That's the only thing that's watched more yearly than the Super Bowl. And I'm almost kind of embarrassed about that this is what all these Europeans and what they saw for their first football experience.
Well, you talk about embarrassing. From a guy who picked the Broncos to win by 17 points, it was tough for me to watch, tough to swallow the pill. There was talk all week of this high-powered offense was finally going to take down the term defense wins championships. Not true. Not true at all, because this defense is different than any kind of other defense seen before. This one's kind of like got not the whole package, because with the 85 Bears, you had the linebacking group. That was great with Singletary. The 2000 Ravens were solid, but I think this Seahawks defense might be the second best of all time. I mean, you look at the front seven, and no name really pops out. I mean, Cliff Avrill's a decent name. Other than that, the linebacking crew is solid, but that secondary has got names all over the board, and they're big, and they're physical, and they definitely impacted Denver's receivers. I mean, their route running was totally different from that of the AFC Championship game against New England. They were bothered. Peyton was bothered the whole game. You were just waiting for the Broncos to kind of like, okay, wake up now. I mean, there's a game being played here. It never happened. And I got worried that, okay, this is going to be a shutout. This is going to be the worst Super Bowl in history. And I was happy when Thomas caught that. It's like, oh my gosh, finally, breath of fresh air. Whew, exhale. But I was totally disappointed in Denver. I mean, after such a crushing loss, you kind of wonder, because Peyton's getting up there, and your receivers are all good. Welker's getting up there in age. You got Champ Bailey. You worry if he's ever going to win a Super Bowl. So, just disappointing.
Yeah, I was really shocked when I watched that game, because I was watching it with my roommate for a bit, and Seattle just stormed out of the gates, and I was like, calm down, calm down. I'm like, Denver's normally like that second half team. That's what I thought. Seattle was all hype, all talk and all that, and it kind of went the way I expected. I thought Seattle was going to take it early, but then I don't know. I think it would have been a completely different game if that pick six didn't happen, because Denver had drove down the field methodically, had a couple third down conversions, and then it was I can't say a bad pass by Peyton. It was just a better play. I believe it was tipped at the defensive line, and then it was just up for grabs, and Smith got it and then took it back all the way. But I think if that tip doesn't happen at the defensive line, we have a different ball game. Because after that, it was like 22-0, I think. That made it, because it was 15-0, and that ended up making it 22.
I was going to go like a play later in the first play of the second half.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, I think that just ended it. I think if that didn't happen, if they stopped him like at the 20-yard line, it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah. Because, you look at that, it's either, like 22-7, or even the way I looked at it was Denver scores, it's 15-7. Really a one-score game, that's a different ball game there. And I think Denver's offense just gets more confidence. Their defense was playing well. I think when you started to see them open up in the second half, it was because they had no hope eventually. Like that one Baldwin, I think it was, that the play where he did the two spin moves, broke like six tackles.
Curse, yeah.
Yeah, that is just a team that knows they're going to lose, and I think it's just deflated, because they played well in the first half. All I could say about Denver's defense was that they had a couple third down conversions early that they should have stopped and gotten their offense the ball back, but overall they held them to field goals after giving up a short field. That's what I said. That's what I thought the key to the game was going to be, was Denver's defense dominating Seattle's offense, which I think Denver's defense pretty much won the battle until the end there, when it was all said and done. But for me, I think it was Peyton Manning. He just, I don't want to say he didn't make the plays, because they were beaten as a team. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Seattle, despite the fact I don't like them. They definitely deserved to win and played great. And I just think Denver didn't look prepared. Like, Seattle knew what they were going to do. And, I mean, this is Peyton Manning. Normally he's the one who keeps the defense on his heels. That's what I think most people thought was going to happen. But football is a game of adjustments, where you react to what the other team is doing. And that's why I thought Seattle was going to lose, was because they don't do that. But in this game, it was Denver who needed to adjust. Like you said, they needed to start running some double move routes, change up their passing tree. I'd like to see them kind of run a couple draws a little bit more because Seattle was pinning their ears back and getting a lot of pass blitz packages on there. Normally how you counter that is with the draw play. And I just didn't see any of that when normally Peyton Manning is the guy who you think about adjusting at the line of scrimmage and always reacting to the defense. I don't really know what to say. It just didn't look like Denver came to play, honestly.
Yeah, like you said, I thought Denver was actually going to – I thought the offense had an advantage when – not against the defense, but at the end of the first quarter, it was only 8-0. And I'm like, okay, Payton's going to go down and get a touchdown eventually. Like, like the Seattle defense is good. I mean, the secondary is great, but you're not going to stop them from scoring. And then they kept driving down the field, and they're not scoring the ball. And I'm like, okay, something a little different is going on here. And then by the time Denver finally scored, I was a little upset, actually, then, because I was like, okay, now it's a waste of time. This is clearly a blowout. I was rooting for a shutout. I was like, now you scored, now reality strikes that the game is over. But like you said, Denver's defense actually played well because Marshawn Lynch didn't really do too much.
They bottled him up.
Yeah, and I was like, okay. And I thought he was going to have to do a lot of work because Russell Wilson hadn't played well like the last 4 games. And Wilson made some plays as he usually does, and I was like, I don't even know what to say. I mean, but what do we think of Peyton Manning now? Is Peyton do we think of him differently?
I'm glad you said that
because I don't want to say not clutch. I mean, he has a Super Bowl, but it's always playoff time. In the regular season, he's great. Might be the best quarterback regular season ever. But when playoff time comes, it's like something happens to him. So I mean, is it a time that we start looking at him like, okay, we can't, like we gotta say something about it. We can't trust that he's not the greatest, which I don't think he would have been even if he won this game. Unless they blew them out like reversed and maybe he'd be the greatest. But, like, how do y'all feel about Peyton?
See, for me, I got a strong opinion on that. I think he would have been. If they won the game, I would have said he's the best quarterback ever because of all the records he holds. And he does have the 2 Super Bowl rings, which I think especially – I always say championships are overrated when judging a player because it is a team accolade, but they're the most important. And football, I think you look at a lot of greats like Favre's only got 1, Marino at 0. Yeah. And that's why they say Joe Montana is so good because he had so many rings. But I think if he would have won, he would have been the greatest, especially because the fact it was against one of the best defenses we've ever seen. But I don't know. For me, I look at him kind of the way people used to look at LeBron before we've seen the two back-to-back rings and the great performances he's put on in the playoffs and the finals, just Jordan-like. That's how I kind of look at Peyton Manning. I can't believe I'm saying this. I texted my brother this. We both hate Skip Bayless, but he is finally 100% right about something. I think Manning is the best regular season quarterback of all time. He shouldn't, in my opinion, I'm a Packers fan, diehard Packers fan. The Bears deserve to win that Super Bowl. My brother sent me, he sent me this text. If the Bears would have started Orton, he's convinced they would have beat the Colts. They should have. I think Grossman had 3 turnovers and a Cedric Benson turnover, a fumble as well. I think Grossman had 2 picks and a fumble, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. But I know he cost the Bears the game, and Manning didn't play exceptionally well in that game either. It was really for me. I remember saying back, it happened when I was in 8th grade. I was like, Peyton Manning deserves to be Rex Grossman deserves to be the Super Bowl MVP for the Colts. So I think he's lucky to even have 1 ring, and I just think that's the way I look at it. He's the best regular season quarterback of all time. He's top 5 still overall, but I can't go higher than like 4. I think.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. When you're 11-12 in the postseason, and you have all these regular season records and all that stuff, and even had a record in the Super Bowl, most completions. I didn't realize he would have the most completions by the end of that game. But I would put Dan Marino above Peyton Manning, I don't think I would ever say that because I also believe that championships matter. At least a championship matters. And you have 1, and you should have had more. I mean, they should have won. To me, he played better in the Saints game than he played against the Bears. And they lost that one. And it was because of a pick 6. Just kind of like what happened this game. So I would put him probably on the bottom, out of the top 5.
Really?
I just don't see him as a regular season. Yes, postseason. You have to do something in the postseason. It's just not the regular season that matters in the NFL. It's 16 weeks long.
Right. And that's a great point because it's the postseason that matters. And I'm a firm believer in the NFL that if you got the rings, you got the power. I think, especially in the NFL, it kind of takes over from the regular season. The regular season gets you there, but you're ultimately defined by what you do in the postseason. I mean, that's why Tom Brady's been so good. I mean, 3 rings doesn't lie. And a lot of that has been with a mediocre defense and such. I hate to throw Manning into kind of like the Marino thing because that one Super Bowl, you look back at it, and yeah, it's against kind of, I don't like to call any team that's mediocre to get to a Super Bowl, but that Bears team wasn't.
They were dragged there by their defense. Their defense literally had their offense's collar. It's like the offense was their little kid, and they just dragged them along to the Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, he beat Rex Grossman. Is there much needed beyond that? I mean, and he's lost to 2 decent quarterbacks. Beyond that, Drew Brees might end up being a top 10 quarterback of all time. I mean, he might get another ring before it's all said and done, and Wilson might do the same thing too. But you hate to kind of see it end that way, especially a great career. And I'm not saying it's the end for him. I'm just saying the window's closing fast, and age can't be reversed.
Yeah. It was interesting to me that you brought up Tom Brady, actually, because I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, earlier this week. Actually, it was partially last week, too. And I was saying, actually, I feel like those Patriots Super Bowls were more so because of the defense. Because in one of those games, Tom Brady won Super Bowl MVP and only had like 193 passing yards. Back when they had a defense with Richard Seymour, Willie McGinnis, Lawyer Malloy, Ty Law, they were winning games. And the management got rid of the defensive players, and Tom Brady gets his team to the Super Bowl, but they don't win. But the fact that they get there, first of all, I can't stand Tom Brady. Like I said, I have no ill will against Peyton Manning. I can't stand Tom Brady at all. I do not like that man. But to me, he's better than Peyton Manning. It kind of hurts me to say that because I don't like, supporting dudes that I personally don't like. But at least he gets his team to the Super Bowl. And then you look at his receiving core this year. They got to the AFC Championship game with basically nobody's trying to get the receivers that they had. So I think Peyton, as you said, Adam, time is running out on him. The next surgeries, he said if the doctor clears him that, he'll come back. I think he's going to get cleared because he really hasn't got hit too much. But I don't know how he was talking like they can improve off this for next year. I'm like, how much better can you get? You set all the offensive records. I don't know what more you can really do next season. Now, the AFC will probably be wide open again because it's not like the NFC. And also looking at rings, it's not like basketball. I think football for real is a team sport.
Yeah.
Basketball, you put one star on the team and it really changes your whole predicament. Football, you need a team, but it seems like the games that they lose, besides last year to Baltimore, that was the defense fault when they lost that playoff game. But the big games that Peyton Manning has lost over his career, it seems to be his fault.
Well, even that Baltimore game last year, the defense is why it got to overtime, but it was the pick he threw in overtime to set up the field goal.
I forgot about that.
Right in, I believe it was in his own territory. I think they really didn't have to move the ball at all. Yeah, they just kind of set up the field goal after that.
I forgot about that. I was thinking about the the Jacoby Jones when he was the guy. So I don't know what Denver they'll probably be as good next year, but I don't see them how they can get any better. I mean, the defense has to get tuned up some. You need a healthy Von Miller. Champ Bailey, he got shook so bad in one of them games. I don't even know if he can play no more after that. The way his ankles and thighs just got tore up, but I don't really know how much better they can be for next season. I feel like this is a high ceiling. I don't want to say this is the ceiling when you set all the records. That's pretty high, but I don't really know how much better they can be.
Well, I was happy they did that because Peyton Manning led me to the championship game in fantasy, even though he didn't pull it off. But it was a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought up Champ Bailey because something interesting for me. We talked about the Richard Sherman thing last week, and I know you love him and all that.
Yeah.
I like him as a person. Everything I've seen, he seems like a good guy. I just don't like him as a player because I think he talks too much. And for me personally, I like Champ Bailey. I was reading an article about that from the Denver Post. They were comparing Bailey to Sherman, and they said Bailey has never been the guy you never hear him talk. You never hear anything from him. He was the guy, he just walked in the room, and you knew he was the best player out there. And they were talking about his best year in 2006, where he never did anything like that, where he's like, I'm the best, blah, blah, blah. He was only thrown at all season. I believe he was thrown at 5 times. he was thrown at I think like 10 times, and of those 10, 5 were interceptions. And I was personally sad. I do like Peyton Manning a lot, but I was really sad for him because that was his first Super Bowl in his 15-year career. I just thought it was an interesting article that I read comparing those two, because I think that is something that's kind of interesting to bring up. Those are the type of guys that I kind of like, where, like they said, that one line that's stuck in there, he never had to say he was the best. He just walked in the room and everybody knew it, and he just kind of earned his respect that way. But I do like what I've seen from Sherman since the incident. I hated the interview. Obviously, we talked about it last week. But everything I've seen, he seems like a nice guy off the field, and I like the comment he said about Peyton Manning, which made me like Peyton Manning even more. Was after the game, Peyton came up to him and made sure he was okay with that injury, and he told him to enjoy the moment, that they earned it and all stuff like that. And Sherman said he was the classiest guy he's ever played against or met. And I thought that was a good moment between those two guys. It was kind of cool. I like seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, well, personally, I feel the opposite. I love the Sherman interview. I even downloaded it from YouTube and saved it to my laptop so I can always have it. I love the interview, and I kind of didn't like what happened afterwards. And I'm not talking about all the tweets and all that. That's a whole separate thing. I don't like how he apologized for the moment afterwards. I know that Pete Carroll told him, and I even understand the apology for taking the moment away from his team.
Yeah.
Because it was a team victory, and as you said, he didn't really do too much the whole game, which to his defense is because they weren't going to challenge him on that side of the ball, which is why he said that they was going to challenge me, and that we knew that I would have put my hat on in the first quarter, which I mean, guys like that, I mean, when you say stuff like that, I feel like you got to respect some. I mean, that's great, but I don't like how he apologized, talking about he shouldn't, demean Crabtree or whatever. Man, you don't like the dude. You said what you said. If somebody has a problem with it, then maybe we should talk to reporters and stop, let players calm down a little bit before they get interviewed. Personally, I wish everybody did an interview like that, though. I remember when Allen Iverson, 2001, Game 1 of the Finals, which I have on DVD, by the way. That's the only one that they put on DVD because the other 4 games don't matter. He dropped 48 on Tyronn Lue. And after the game, they asked him, what about Lou when he was holding you in the second half? He was like, he was holding my jersey the whole time. It's not like he was guarding me. Stuff like that I can respect. That's the type of stuff I love. That's the type of way that I think I play in my own head, even though most people tell me I'm actually kind of quiet on the court. But that's not really the point either. Richard Sherman as a person, I'm happy that some of the stuff came out, that people start seeing, more of him as a person, because I think a lot of people that knew of him, they thought he was just a trash talker. I liked him before the event because I remember what he said to Tom Brady, and he posted a little pic. I don't know if y'all remember that when they beat him last year, the "You Mad Bro" picture on Twitter. That's what actually kind of made me like him.
Yeah.
And then I remember last summer when he was on First Take and he told Skip Bayless, "I'm better at life than you." Oh man, those are just some great moments. But going back to Champ Bailey, great player. I personally don't like him because that's just a Cowboys Redskins thing, because he used to play for the Skins, so I can't really mess with him. But great player. I don't even know if he's coming back next year because he was banged up a lot this season.
It sounded like it was going to be his final ride. I think from everything I read about it is he's kind of pissed off. That's obviously not the way he wants to go out, so he might come back for one more, but he'd kind of just be there as like the team leader and maybe play as like a nickel back or something like that. Because I think he had one good game in the playoffs. He had a poor regular season, and I think he had one good game. I forgot. I think it was against the Chargers where he had a couple nice plays and had like a pass deflection that led to an interception, but then the Patriots game he played okay, and then he had a terrible Super Bowl, and I think he was planning on this being his last game, but from what I heard, it might change with how bad that loss was.
And I just have one more question about this because I feel like I'm talking too much, and this is a group. This ain't the Darius Hawkins show. We all as one unit. Let's say hypothetically the Broncos won the Super Bowl. Do y'all feel like Peyton Manning would have retired, or do you feel like he would have came back?
No, he wouldn't have retired.
No.
He's not John Elway. They always want to compare him to John Elway. I don't see that. I see Elway better than Peyton. It took him a long time to get to those 2 Super Bowls and win them.
Yeah.
And he won back-to-backs.
Yeah.
And that says something because it doesn't happen a lot. So I don't see it like that. I don't see him retiring. He would have kept on playing if he was cleared. I still say he's probably got 2 years left in him.
Okay.
Even if he won the Super Bowl.
I agree with you. He said in a post-game interview that basically he was asked about if he was going to retire or when that would be. And he said, I'm going to stop playing when it's not fun for me, when I don't like the preparation. and that kind of tripped my trigger. I'm just thinking Peyton Manning being the ultimate cerebral quarterback, being the ultimate preparation guy. You gonna play till you're 60?
Right.
It seems like the guy
Yeah.
is in love with the preparation and
Yeah.
such. I see 2 more solid years, and I kind of hope he ends on a good note because I think he is the greatest regular season quarterback, and I think he's top 5. I mean, the back end of it, but I kind of want to see him go out. You kind of want to see the greats go out on a high note.
Yeah, I actually saw an interview with one of the Bills defensive linemen from their 4 straight Super Bowl losses. I don't remember his name.
Was it Bruce Smith?
I think so. He
Okay.
was on SportsCenter
It might be.
earlier in the week.
I've seen him on some other
And
ESPN shows.
they were talking to him about it, and I've heard Brett Favre say the same thing. And but what Smith said was he sacked Joe Montana in the game when Montana was on the Chiefs. It was actually a playoff game towards the end of his career, and Joe Montana looked up at him. He said, "I'm too old for this," and you know what the last word would be. So I think, and that's what he said. He's like, there comes a time in every player's career, specifically for football, when you just know it's done. I've heard Brett Favre say the same thing where he was in Minnesota, and I think it was the game against the Bears before he even got hurt. He got sacked, and he was like, man, he's like, this is rough. He said it's like Julius, I think Pepper sacked him. He's like, man, I am getting old for this. So there comes a point, especially in a quarterback's career, where eventually it's just you can't do it anymore. And I think Peyton Manning's coming close to that. I think the neck injury has speeded that up in a way, but I think he comes back. Even if to answer your question, even if they did win, I still thought he would come back. So I think we'll see. I think Peyton's still got 2 good years where he can be an elite quarterback, and maybe even 4 more as a good to decent quarterback.